Utah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all for being here. Mr. Gifford, my questions are directed at you, if I could, please. Sir, did you at any time feel pressure from the federal government to complete this transaction? Yes or no?
It's hard to quibble with words, sir. I felt, again, getting it from the CEO, that the government was very desirous of us completing the transaction.
But and then you also said, I think if I heard you earlier in your testimony, quote, in a perfect world, it would have been better to walk away, end quote. Why? What was the pressure that was creating this imperfect world that led you to come to a conclusion?
Because we had a contract to buy Merrill Lynch.
But you could have stepped out of, right?
No, with due respect, sir, a material adverse change clause is not straightforward. There have been few material adverse change clauses. I'm not a lawyer, so I could be getting over my head.
Neither am I. I'll take that to credit for both of us.
That's
yes.
helpful to me.
Thank you.
Have been successful in Delaware court.
But the point I want to try to get to is, was the government applying pressure that affected your decision whether or not to move forward with this?
And what I have said, and I am under oath for sure, that for me, the key decision was not the government threatening board seats. Because if that were the key, then I would not be doing my fiduciary duty. The key was the uncertainty of the MAC, to litigate a MAC, to walk away and say we're not going to close. The uncertainty of whether we'd win was a lose-lose for the Bank of America shareholders.
My time's short, and my apologies for cutting you off, but if we could pull up slide number 7, if we could. Sir, this is my understanding, an email of Wednesday, January 21st. I hope you're familiar with this. Can you just go through who this is to?
I can't see
and I'd like to know who these people are, their relationship to you, and what they do professionally, starting with Ramsey Trussell.
Oh, Lord. Yes, sir. This is an email dated January 21.
Yes.
It's addressed to my 4 children, Ramsey Trussell, Charlie Gifford, Rufus Gifford, Jessica Gifford, with a copy to my wife.
Could you real quickly tell me what your children do professionally? And do they do anything politically?
I can. Ramsey Trussell is a stay-at-home mom, hardest job of all. My son, Charlie Gifford, works in Boston at a private equity operation. My son, Rufus Gifford, works here in Washington as the finance director of the Democratic National Committee. My daughter, Jessica, works pro bono, not pro bono, in the pro bono area of a law firm in Boston. And my wife, Ann Gifford, takes care of me.
And now, in this email that you sent out, it said, I'm going down to point number 3, which is midway through the first page. If we can pull that up, I believe part of it's highlighted. You're talking about Merrill Lynch. This was a bad mistake. No, it says, this was a bad mistake, and their assets became much worse than expected when presented in September. When the deal was announced, we were $31 to $32 a share, and then boom, this was a bad decision. And when we realized same, the U.S. government pressured us to stick with it. That's when they agreed to give us more capital and guarantee some of their bad assets. That seems to be in direct contradiction to what you've said time and time again in this committee, that they were, well, it was important to them. But here you're clearly, directly saying it was a bad decision and a bad mistake. Why? Who are you lying to? Which is accurate and which is inaccurate?
What I've said, Congressman, is that I believe, and I voted for it in September, that's fact, and I based it, notwithstanding worries, that it was a good strategic decision. What happened since then, as we all know, the markets went fluey. And to the point
where... But you see the challenge...
Please, if you're going to ask me the question, I've got to continue, sir. I realize you have 5 minutes. Is that it got so bad in December that we tried to figure out a way that to exit the transaction. It was within that context that the fact that we'd eliminated our dividend, Merrill Lynch had lost $21 billion, in this period of time when the day was the darkest, and I'm expressing to my children what's going on with the security of Bank of America, that's what it was.
I'm just confused by the inconsistency of your the way you characterize the decision, because in what was at the time, I'm sure, seemingly private, to your wife and your children, you're saying it was a bad decision, it was a bad mistake, essentially that we shouldn't have done it, and yet publicly you're putting a real good face on it. Let me go to the end of this paragraph, this end of this email. What do I worry about? A serious 12% plus unemployment number that is prolonged, or really stupid politicians, or extended panic in markets. I don't think that will happen, ... There is some stuff I'm not saying vis-a-vis some of our management decisions. We'll do that in person. In the meantime, I'm sleeping fine, and so should you. What is it that you told them in person that you haven't disclosed here today about the management decisions that would be pertinent to this decision?
Congressman, I have no idea what I told them in person. Absolutely no idea what I told them in person. And I was obviously wrong about stupid politicians.
Now, that's the one thing I could agree with you on. That was the sense of credibility I saw in this document, so.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.